Good morning. I am Anita Bath with CBC Vancouver. We are live right now, and in a couple of minutes, we're going to take you to a press conference in Vancouver where BC's Housing Minister, Ravi Kahlon, you can see they're just getting set up there. Ravi Kahlon is about to make an announcement on new affordable housing in Vancouver. He'll be joined by MLA George Heyman, along with Deputy Mayor of Vancouver, Sarah Kirby-Young. Now, the main announcement will be about affordable housing, but Kahlon is also expected to discuss how the residential tenancy branch has new interpretation services available for renters and landlords. Let's go to that news conference right now.
Just a reminder to media on the phone that they may now press *1 or at any time to line up for questions. The question and answer portion will take place after the speeches, and you have one question and one follow-up. I will now invite MLA George Heyman to give his remarks.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us here today. I'm George Heyman, and I am the MLA for Vancouver Fairview, the area that we're in today. I want to begin by acknowledging that we're gathered on the traditional territory of the Coast Salish peoples, including the Musqueam, the Squamish, and the Tsleil-Waututh nations. Coming back here brings back some memories. When I was a UBC student, I used to come to the Denny's here to get lots of coffee when I was staying up all night doing my papers. But what we're seeing here today is something that's much more relevant and much more needed in the area today. People in Vancouver Fairview and all through the region know about the housing crisis we're facing. I hear about it every time I knock on a door in the area, and I've been hearing about it as the #1 issue in this constituency for my entire 10 years in office. We've had years of inaction, and it's left too many people unable to find affordable places to rent or buy. It's affecting young people, it's affecting seniors, it's affecting people hoping to start families, it's impacting our economy as businesses in turn struggle to find and retain employees. And it's even affecting longtime residents who wish their kids could live near them, but know that they can't afford it. Even people with good incomes are feeling the weight of the housing crisis. And that's why we're here today, to announce 258 much-needed rental homes on the way for people here in Vancouver and Vancouver Fairview. Just to share more about this building and this announcement, it's my pleasure to introduce Ravi Kahlon, the Minister of Housing.
That's great. Thank you so much. I too want to recognize that we're gathered on the traditional territory of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations, and thank Minister Heyman. I too spent a lot of time at the Denny's that was here because our field hockey, National Field Hockey Office was across the street, and it's just great to be able to be here for this important announcement. And I think Minister Heyman touched on the important piece there. Since becoming the Minister of Housing, the two most consistent things I hear is from young people who want to ensure that they can be able to raise their kids in the same neighborhood that they grew up in and don't see the opportunity to do so. And from seniors who want to make sure that their kids or their grandkids can continue to grow and raise their families near them. And so how we address the challenges that we have in front of us is through partnerships. And that is what we're going to see here happening right now and what we're seeing throughout the province. BC Housing, through our BC Housing Hub partnership, we're partnering with Jameson Development Corporation. This project that we're seeing here under construction, that we're helping finance, is 258 rental homes. 58 of these units will be below rent for a moderate income households. And this is the type of housing development that we have to see. We need to provide housing, affordable housing opportunities for people throughout British Columbia so that nurses, teachers, first responders, and more can have access to stay in the community where they live, where they want to live, and where they want to work. Of course, this would not have been possible without Tony and his steadfast commitment to wanting to build affordable housing, and Jameson Development Corporation. And I want to thank them for their partnership, but also to the important partnership with the City of Vancouver. I know that Acting Mayor Mike Klassen is here. I want to thank them for the work that they do to ensure that they can partner with us at BC Housing, with the province, with local developers to get this critically important housing built in our communities.
I'm sorry to be doing this. You and your
your staff, no offense to you, you do not know what renters need, and we do. We've been talking to renters all along this neighborhood. You don't listen to renters in this city, and that's why we need to be speaking out today. So you live in these neighborhoods, and we know that Metro Vancouver is the eviction capital of Canada.
So this press conference right now with Housing Minister Ravi Kahlon is being interrupted by the Vancouver Tenants Union, but I want to listen into what they have to say as the Housing Minister is also listening.
25% of the city's rental stock is at risk of demolition thanks to your transit-oriented displacement with the new Broadway subway line is bringing. And that's going to put thousands of families at risk of evictions. In fall 2021, the VTU, the Vancouver Tenants Union, spoke with hundreds of them. The vast majority of them told us that they would not expect to be able to afford to stay in their neighborhoods if they lost their current homes. You don't have a plan to protect them. And it's no wonder. We talked to almost 300 families in this area within 200 meters of the new SkyTrain stations that are being constructed. And the numbers that they gave us are shocking. They can expect that new one-bedrooms that will replace their buildings that you want to demolish to be about $800 more per month in rent for a one-bedroom, and for a two-bedroom it will be over $1,100 per month in rent. These are luxury homes that you want to replace their buildings with. Your plan to force cities to build luxury housing is exactly what these tenants don't want. And I want you to read our report.
Thank you. Appreciate your comments.
And I'll give you an example from the report. Just one block from here on Hemlock, 2 rental buildings side by side went on sale shortly after Councillor Sarah Kirby-Young and others passed the Broadway plan. We talked to tenants in this building, and one tenant is a low-income senior. Low-income senior, I'm going to call her C. Okay? And C moved into her building over 40 years ago. Her rent was $55 a month when she moved in. And she lives in a studio, and currently, as of 2021, she's paying $1,200 for a studio. And these are supposed to be more affordable rental stock left in the city. The buildings that you want to replace these buildings with, that you want to force cities with your targets that you announced in my neighborhood of Mount Pleasant in Gulf Park last week, those studios are going to go for $2,400 a month for rent. So you don't have a plan to protect C. She told us she won't be able to stay in this neighborhood once the evictions come, and is deeply concerned about the disappearing older, more affordable rental stock being replaced by luxury rentals and condos. Your government has no plans for tenant protections when it comes to evictions and displacement. It has no plans to lower the eviction rate. It has no plans to lower land values, which is causing the high rents. It has no plans to lower the rents. It has no plans for real rent control or vacancy control, which you've denied folks. And you're here to announce an affordable housing project. Let's talk about 105 Kiefer, the site in Chinatown.
My friend.
In Chinatown right now, billionaire Ryan Beatty and their developers are wanting to put 100% luxury condos in the middle of Chinatown, even though the vast majority of the people in the neighborhood, the residents, mostly low-income Chinese seniors, are speaking out against it. And this municipal government is going to push it through next week at their permit board hearing. So you don't have a plan for building affordable housing when you're letting luxury condos and luxury rentals replace the homes that we already have.
My friend, thank you. Appreciate your comments.
Your plan is for your developer friends to drive us out of our neighborhoods and out of our cities. Tenants understand that this provincial government will not protect us or stand up for a human right to housing. Tenants certainly understand that this municipal government will not protect us. Tenants understand that governments and developers and landlords want to take away our homes and destroy our communities. That's why tenants are organizing their buildings. They're getting together with their neighbors and empowering each other to protect themselves. Tenants are getting together to prevent developers from demolishing their homes along Broadway and in every neighborhood. And tenants will succeed. So our message here today is loud and clear. Hands off our homes.
Thank you very much, my friend. Thank you
For your document, we will we'll proceed with the event. And as I was saying, this project here has 58 units for families earning less than $80,000 income. It's critically important that we continue to build housing, all types of housing, affordable housing for people throughout the province, and we're going to continue to do the important work because we know we have a huge shortage of housing, not only here in Vancouver, but throughout the province. But it's not only that. I think what else is important to support renters is to ensure that when they go to the RTB to have issues such as being displaced heard from the rental tenancy branch, that they're able to do it in the language that they prefer. Today we put out a press release with an additional announcement that we are now making available RTB services with additional 200 languages so that people can get both a timely resolution to any issues that they have with their landlord, but also landlords can have timely resolutions, but in the language that they prefer. Languages such as Punjabi, Farsi, French, Hindi, Japanese, and many indigenous languages. I know this new service will help many renters to get the type of resolution that they want when there are disputes in place. Again, I want to thank the partnership that we have here to not only get the important housing we need built in communities, but also the affordability, the affordable units that are being built on this site in particular. And with that, I want to thank you and invite up Minister Heyman again. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Minister Kahlon. It is a source of great pride to those of us in government that we are taking action on an extremely difficult issue, as you've heard. And the answer is to build housing and protect people who have existing housing and ensure that people continue to have access to affordable rental housing as well as affordable homes. Next, I'd like to welcome Mike Klassen, Deputy Mayor of Vancouver, to talk about how these new homes will benefit the community.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Minister Heyman and Minister Kahlon. First of all, I'm just very pleased to be here on behalf of the City of Vancouver, and I'd also like to thank you for your land acknowledgements. Earlier I said, first I'd just like to start off by thanking groups like the Vancouver Tenants Union and others for their work and advocacy in recognizing that we do have amazing stresses on our system right now with regards to rental housing, and so I think this is part of the solution by working together with the provinces. So I'll continue with my remarks. So we're here to announce the positive news that will have immediate impact in our city. The housing located here at 2538 Birch Street is underway and will provide 258 much-needed affordable rental homes for families, seniors, and individuals. This project represents a significant step in our ongoing commitment to address the pressing need for affordable housing in Vancouver. The project highlights the shared vision by all parties involved. So the city is extremely proud to be partnering with the province, BC Housing, and Jameson Development, a partnership that achieves a common goal of providing safe and affordable housing. But this project is not just about putting roofs over people's heads. It's about creating belonging and community in this vibrant city. It is about ensuring Vancouver remains a place where families raise their children and thrive. A place where seniors can live with dignity. A place where individuals can afford to pursue their dreams. By committing to affordable rental homes, we are dedicating resources to growing a community. Alongside this announcement, I'm pleased to highlight how this commitment, in direct alignment with the Broadway plan, which includes some of the strongest renter protections in North America, where the city has made a commitment to expand affordable housing opportunities close to transit. Those stations are only just a few years away from being opened, just down in here on Granville and Broadway, to accommodate the growing demand for rental housing in Vancouver's core. This investment is an important priority of all people I'm standing next to, and I look forward to celebrating the opening of this project and the many more to come here in the Broadway corridor. Thanks very much.
Thanks so much, Mike. Next, I'd like to introduce Tony Papajohn, the president of Jameson Development Corporation, to talk about the development of this building. Tony has been speaking with me for a number of years now about his desire to ensure that their developments include affordable rental housing.
Thank you very much. Just a couple short notes. Looking very much forward to these 258 purpose-built rental homes being completed sometime in 2025. We're in between two SkyTrain stations and close walking proximity to major employment centers like Vancouver General and the Broadway Corridor office area. And just like to mention, this project displaced absolutely no tenants at all other than the Denny's, which their lease expired. So there was no residential evictions from this site, and there's going to be 258 homes created here in the next couple years. So thank you very much for your time, and I'd like to just thank the province for their support through the hub and BC Housing, and for the City of Vancouver for having the vision to promote rental housing in the city, because we need much more of it to be built. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Tony. And finally, I'd like to introduce Farah McLaren, who is one of my constituents who recently moved into another housing hub building that opened in January. She has since found a community for herself and her small dog after years of challenges and housing uncertainty. Please welcome Farah as she shares more about her experience looking for a home in Vancouver.
Thank you. So it's thanks to the Housing Hub that I was able to find a home that I could afford after several years of looking for something. I'm very grateful to the province and the City of Vancouver for working together to create homes like this. Not only can I now build on my savings, I'm also living with dignity and peace of mind that comes with affordable homes in the community that I love, that happens to be Commercial Drive. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Farah, and I look forward to more and more people like Farah who are looking for secure housing to be able to find it as a result of this government's programs and the work of Minister Kahlon. I'd now like to open it for questions to Minister Kahlon and others.
Great. All right.
Thank you. Just a reminder to reporters on the phone again, please press *1 to enter the queue. You are limited to one question and one follow-up. Please also remember to take your phone off mute. You are not audible until your name is called. Our first question is here on site. Mike Howell, Glacier Media.
To the Minister, I just wanted to get your response to the concerns raised by the two fellows who showed up here from the Vancouver Tenants Union.
Yeah, well, you know, anytime an activist wants to get a chance to share their perspective, we're open to that. We're open to feedback. I would say that they highlighted that they heard from 300 people. I hear from thousands of people who are looking for housing that can't find it. This project here that they decided they were going to protest is a project that was a Denny's before and now has 258 rental units available, 58 units for families making less than $80,000, 200 units for families making $170,000 or less. And so we need to continue to build affordable housing. Yes, there's challenges. When renoviction challenges arose last year, we took significant steps to address the renoviction challenges. And now, in fact, we rarely hear about those issues at the RTB. There are other challenges as a government. We're going to continue to work on them. But we are going to continue to make sure that we get the housing built, but all types of housing. We need housing for low-income individuals. We need housing for middle-income earners. And the Housing Supply Act and the targets we've set actually capture all of those things. They capture the need for units, not just one bedrooms, but 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms, but also the need for low-income housing in communities. And that's why the targets we've set are so comprehensive. No other jurisdiction has set targets the way that we have. We're learning from shortcomings of other jurisdictions, and we will build the housing that our population needs in the years ahead.
Can you tell me the total worth of this breaks down in terms of the government contribution, city?
Yeah. So this project in particular is being just financed by us. It's not additional dollars. I believe it's $161 million. I believe $161 million in financing for this project. Once the project is complete, the developer will pay the province back with interest on those dollars. It's just low-cost financing to enable the private sector, enable the development community to build more affordability into their units. On top of that, the City of Vancouver waived $3.1 million in fees to make the project even more affordable. And so we're looking at all innovative tools, whether that's to provide loans for developers, in this case, to have affordability built into the units, but in some cases, directly investing in units so we can get even deeper affordability, so we can ensure that all types of people with all different incomes get the housing that they need.
Just checking if media on site has any other questions. If not, we are going online with Chad Paulson, CBC News.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Kahlon. Can you address, are we ever going to get to a place in a city like Vancouver where we're going to have the capacity that people's needs are going to be met? I mean, a lot of the announcements you're making are about things that are in the future. This housing is not going to be ready until 2025. So what are you expecting people to do in the meantime? Are we ever going to get to the amount of capacity for housing that's going to meet needs, and it's going to end these awful stories that we hear of people like Farah who are challenged for years to try and find the housing that they need and can afford?
Yeah, the truth is we're 2 decades behind in the investment we need to have levels of affordability. I mean, I think it's important to note that for almost 2 decades, there was little to no investments being made in housing in a meaningful way in British Columbia. When the federal government stepped away from housing, it's left a major deficit for us. And the historic level investments we're making are coming online now. And again, this project has shovels in the ground, and that's how units are developed. The units, when they're being built, take time to be built. Not only are we building more units, we're also investing like the $500 million fund that we have to protect existing rental units. We know that some rental units go on the market, that they get sold, and they get lost to development or otherwise. That $500 million fund is actually in the market to buy units to maintain the renter affordability so that renters are not displaced. So we are doing both protecting units that we have, but also building new units. But that's what it's going to require. It's going to require all communities to participate. And that's why we had the Housing Supply Act, the first 10 communities announced, because it's important that all communities understand that they have to be part of the solution. Not only that, but we have the renters tax credit that we announced in the budget this year. That will help families, and we have more to do, and we're going to continue to do that.
Chad, did you have a follow-up?
Yeah, sure. You know, if I'm a developer, what do you say to me to build purpose-built rental? Why would I do that? Why should I?
Well, we have a developer here, and we're celebrating a project with a developer that is building purpose-built, that was able to get low-cost financing from the province, was able to get fees waived from the city so that they can build affordable units. Again, 58 units for families that make less than $80,000 right here in Vancouver. 200 units for families that are making up to $170,000. These are the types of units we need built more in communities, and it's going to be done with partnerships. And maybe you might want to touch on, because there was a question asked about the development community. You want to?
Yeah, it's programs like the minister's talking about, the financing through BC Housing and the incentives through the City of Vancouver that make these projects a reality. Conventionally, they wouldn't be built otherwise. We wouldn't be able to make it work on paper, and unfortunately, we live in a world of numbers as well. So it's through programs like this and incentives like this from the province as well as the City of Vancouver that drives us to improve our communities and offer more housing options for more of our citizens. Thank you.
And the only thing I'll add to that, Chad, to your question, is that one of the focuses of the Homes for People strategy is going to be this concept of BC Builds, where we are going to be looking at using government lands to build truly affordable housing for people. Right now, we're in the process of creating an inventory of lands that are available, both from local governments, from school districts, from provincial, federal governments. Once we have that assembled later this fall, we'll be able to announce some additional initiatives that will build, I think, housing for the future of British Columbia.
Next question is Wolf Deppner, Black Press.
Yeah, thank you for taking my question. Minister, what's your reaction to the Bank of Canada?
You are watching BC's Housing Minister Ravi Kahlon make an announcement about affordable housing. The announcement is 258 affordable rental homes on the site at Birch and Broadway in Vancouver. That's the old Denny's site that was sold in 2016 to Jameson Development for more than $26 million. Now, it is 258 affordable rental homes in a building that is going to be about 28 stories. It's a partnership with BC Housing and the Jameson Development Corporation. We're looking at 58 units of those 258 that are going to be dubbed as below market rental for moderate and low income families. Construction is expected to be completed in about 2025. Now, the news conference was actually interrupted right at the beginning by the Vancouver Tenants Union, basically talking to Ravi Kahlon, the housing minister, saying that, you know, he doesn't understand what tenants need. They say they've spoken to people in the region and that the province is completely off the mark. Ravi Kahlon listened to what they had to say and then continued on with his news conference. Now, at this point, I want to bring in Andy Yan. He's the director of the City program at Simon Fraser University and will help put all of this into context for us. Andy, we just heard 258 rental units coming to Vancouver, 58 of them offered at below market rental rates. Given the housing crisis we're currently facing, what will the impact of this actually be?
Well, I think it's a drop onto a really large bucket that I think that there still are, I think, profound challenges in terms of the development of rental housing in metropolitan Vancouver, and indeed, but then at the same time, I think the details of what gets developed and for whom, I think it really is important to underline, and I think that there is still, I think, this underlying kind of challenge in terms of development for rental housing that is affordable.
Yeah, and I want to get into that in a second about, you know, the incentives for developers and what that looks like. But in this project, 58 out of the 258 rental units will be below market. What does that actually mean, Andy, below market in today's world?
Well, I think that in theory, it's below what the existing market prices are for these units. But then, of course, the details of what these units are was not there. I think the question goes into these number of units. How many of them are studios? How many of them are 2 bedrooms? How many of them are 3 bedrooms? That this is actually something that was missing in this announcement, is actually the details of the sizes of these units, because that inherently gives you a sense of whom they're for.
Yeah, absolutely. And when we talk below market, you know, they're saying are targeting people who make less than $80,000 a year. Right. But if you look at market rent, I mean, what are we at in Vancouver at the moment for, let's say, a 2-bedroom? Do you know off the top of your head?
Something like 28 to almost $3,000 easy in terms of that price.
So if you're talking below market, how much lower than that could we actually see some of these units priced at?
If memory serves me right, I think it's something like 20% below that. But I mean, you know, which isn't necessarily that, that affordable, because if you actually go in through the statistics, the median household income for a renter in the city of Vancouver is only $55,000 a year. So, and you can assume that that changes in terms of the sizes of household and the amount of earners in that household. But you can imagine that when it comes to renters, we're not talking about particularly high incomes.
No, and the rest of the 258 rental units also being called affordable. Right. So if these are 20% below market, what's affordable?
Right. Exactly. And I think that that is one of the profound challenges when we talk about rental housing is really what is affordable, I think, is I think the big debate. I think that the question is really how rents have really, in addition to owning, how rents have basically outstripped incomes, and really how fast rents have increased, so much faster than the existing kind of incomes that you find in a place like the city of Vancouver for renters.
What sort of agreement would the province have struck with Jameson to see that developer actually put in these 258 units? Because I believe originally when it was approved, it was going to be a lot less than that. It was just the 58 affordable units, and now this is 200 more.
Right. I mean, that's a really interesting thing is the story of this site. The story of this site is actually, well, it was actually approved for 16 stories of market rental in 2018. And now it's now seen as, I guess the details have yet to be, I think, I'd love to see the details in terms of really, is this where the provincial government and has now produced the kind of financing to complete the full 258 units as opposed to just the 58 units.
Yeah, and so when we're looking at the 258 affordable, is this building going to include regular units, I guess, as well? And then the developer was incentivized to put in all these other units? Is that how it works?
Well, that's exactly the question, is that I know that in the city announcements, we talked about how it was with that 258, we were split between 200 market rental units and 58 moderate income rental units. And I'm curious to kind of see with the agreements with the province, as well as I think the fees that have been, I think that haven't been charged by the city of Vancouver, what that formula now looks like, because I think that that's really touches upon, I think, some ongoing challenges in the world of finance and how rental housing is financed, and really how the provincial government has kind of stepped in, not only to kind of deal with 58 units out of this 258 unit project, but now to the full project.
Yeah. Minister Kahlon was asked about whether we'll be able to catch up with the supply of affordable housing needed, and he took that opportunity to make it political, taking a shot at the BC Liberals, saying we're 2 decades behind the investment that we need to be at, and it's going to take time. What do you say to that? Will we ever be able to catch up to the affordable housing needs?
I think that that's really one of the kind of big challenges, is that I think that we're going to need a set of policies, not only on supply, but also on demand and finance, in order to try to fix the gap. I think the issue is the gap isn't only 20 years, it's more like 30 years of really what's happened on the provincial as well as the federal basis in terms of the disinvestment in non-market housing, much less the non-investment in rental housing. So I think that there is still a rather profound challenge in terms of the development of affordable housing, not only in British Columbia, but in Canada.
Yeah, and like you said, this is a drop in the bucket. This is one project in Vancouver, but we know there's an affordability crisis across the province. This is the former Denny's site, like we've mentioned, at Broadway and Birch. The development was first approved back in 2018. It's now 2023, construction beginning this much later, not to be ready. They say 2025, but we know projects usually take a lot longer than that. With the crisis we're facing, how do we get these projects going quicker?
Well, I think that this is the issue, is that it isn't necessarily just strictly regulatory, but you can imagine that it comes into the availability of labor, and then touched in with the availability of labor is, is the ongoing challenges in terms of supply chains. So you can see that this is not going to be, I think, an issue that's going to be resolved very quickly or very easily, because of the fact that this isn't just a regulatory kind of question. It's also one of really the kind of, I think, other inputs that come into the development of housing.
Andy, before we let you go, just because we have you here, obviously a huge housing story today. Bank of Canada raising its trend-setting interest rate to 4.75%. First time that they've done this, an increase since January. What do you make of this? How do you interpret this today?
I think that it's going to be, I think, another kind of challenge for those who are trying to own a home that interest rates have moved on. But I think what's interesting is that we're not only talking about those who are trying to purchase a home, but then also perhaps how it's going to resonate into the finance world and into how buildings are financed in their construction phases. So I think that this is, I think, that kind of increase in terms of those kind of costs, and I think ultimately kind of resonate down to the consumer.
Yeah, and we heard yesterday on our 6 o'clock show from, some owners of a condo unit in Vancouver who say their mortgage has jumped already more than $850 since interest rates started going up. And it really begs the question as to whether people are going to be able to keep affording these interest rate hikes. Andy Yan is the director of the city program at SFU. Thanks so much for joining us today to break down the province's affordable housing news conference. We appreciate your time.
Always a pleasure. Take care.
And that is it for our live coverage of the province's affordable housing news conference. We hope to bring you more of these in the future. Thanks for watching.